James Fox says there is video evidence of the beings from the Virginia, Brazil UFO crash. And more than crash, there were beings that were wandering around this town and people were seeing them. Call them aliens, ultra-terrestrials, whatever you want to call them. These beings were wandering around this town and people were encountering them. At a certain point, the military stepped in. These beings were captured. And then the U.S. military came in and took the bodies in the ship, whatever materials there were, away. And presumably these two beings that were still alive, if they were still alive when the U.S. military got there. So anyway, James Fox, the filmmaker who made this awesome documentary, Moment of Contact, as well as The Phenomenon and Out of the Blue, which I highly recommend, and Out of the Blue especially was very important to me and my journey in making peace and understanding all of this and understanding the reality of the UFO situation. Anyway, he says there is video evidence of one of these beings. This is huge. This is major. Before I get too far into the story, this is Cosmic Road, where I discuss UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, and smash that bell to be notified of future videos. And share this video when I post it on social media. That'd be great. And please comment below as I'm going through the story and let me know your thoughts. So just reading a couple of his comments here, he says, let's just put it this way, just because you definitively locate something, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can get your hands on it. Not a single person that appeared on camera in this film didn't do so very willingly. It was a fight sometimes, he says. And over a decade, Marco Leal has been working so hard in getting some of these people to testify for the first time in history. We came across very credible sources to photographic evidence, both photos and video. Anyway, so there is apparently a 35-second long video of one of these beings, and he is trying to get his hands on it. I think that he knows who has it, maybe the family that is in possession of this video. But they are being very reluctant, apparently, to actually hand over the video. And he's expressing his frustration that he knows where the video is. He knows it exists. There has been at least one person that has come out publicly that has seen the video and actually describes it a little bit. He talks of the being as being like a 6 to 7 year old human in size and very weak, very frail, as if it had been starving. Possibly that's just its appearance, but it seemed like it just wasn't doing well, and he thought it might even be dying, which would make sense. And that's something that you hear a lot from experiencers, is that these beings are not adapted to our world. They may even come from outside of our reality as we understand it, from a higher dimension possibly. So anyway, very with all due respect to that being, and I if it was dying, I absolutely my heart goes out to it. But for humanity, it would be very exciting to see that video. In fact, that could be a huge deal. That could be a game changer that could rock the world. Now, this reminds me of something James Fox said in another interview, this time with Christina Gomez. He said that he actually sat down with Bob Bigelow, and Bigelow told him that he had conducted a study of what would happen if it was revealed to the public that there was that aliens were here, or that the beings were here. If there was definitive proof of that, and that got out to the public, what would happen? What would the public's response? What would it be? And Bigelow had very sobering words to say about that. Here's what James Fox said about that.
What do you think about that? Do you think that if this information was made completely public, everyone knew about it, that society would collapse? Or do you think it would unite us or something else?
Well, I mean, I know about it, and my society's not collapsing. But uh, I met, and I'm just going to, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I don't care at this point, but I met with Robert Bigelow. Robert Bigelow has had contracts with the U.S. government. He was part of, he had that organization, that intellectual scientific heavyweights, NIDS, BASS, OSAP, ultimately ATIP. He's a billionaire. He was trying to put, he had Bigelow Aerospace. He was trying to put these inflatable capsules as habitable zones that were lightweight up into space. I know he was working with Elon Musk at some point. Very credible in the way that he would certainly have access to some of the information that he shared with me. When I did a film called I Know What I Saw, I got an email from his secretary. And she said, Mr. Bigelow saw your movie, wanted to congratulate you on a job well done. So I reached out, and long story short, I got a lunch date with him. And he said to me in probably 2009, maybe 2010, that they had done some studies, I guess, on how this reality would impact the world. And I'm not saying that I believe this or I don't believe this, but this is what he told me. He said that if you take every scandal in the history of like politics in the world and you multiply that by 1 million, that would be the equivalent impact that the economy, financial markets, religion, all collapse if this story came out.
That's pretty extreme.
Personally, I don't really believe that, but that's what he told me.
I tend to agree with James. I don't think it would be the end of the world, but I also think that Bigelow is right. There would probably be years of turmoil before humanity got its head back together on this. And the reason I say that is because of my own personal journey. Yeah, I mean, I just learned about the reality of the UFO phenomenon a few years ago. I completely dismissed it. And then the Beaver, Utah UFO video came along, and I, spurred on by that, I started researching the Navy videos that had just come out, and there seemed to be something real there. And my mind was blown, and I just kept digging and digging and digging. And, anyway, one rabbit hole after another. And it just totally turned my world upside down. I'm a writer. I'm a novelist. That's what I do in my career. And I found it hard to write. This was a world shaking event for me, totally reshaped my whole view of, not just this world, but other worlds and reality itself. So, and it took me a long time to, get straight in my head, if I'm straight now. But at the end of the day, there may be aliens, there may be magical forces, but you still have to take the trash out. So, I was taking the trash out. Don't get me wrong, but it did take me a long time to wrap my head around it. I'm not to say that I understand the phenomenon, but at least I got to a point where I could deal with it. I could deal with not knowing. And, that's part of the process is you have to make peace with the idea that you may never fully understand the phenomenon. You may be able to make progress and you may be able to understand parts of it, but you may not be able to ever understand the whole picture. Which isn't to say we shouldn't try and we shouldn't make as much progress as we can. I think that's the only way forward, and eventually we will get there. But so I completely understand Bob Bigelow's point that turmoil could result from revealing this to the public. He wasn't specifically talking about the Virginia video, but just in general, if definitive proof was revealed to the public. And but I think that is a band-aid that needs to be ripped off. It may cause turmoil. There may be several years of, stock market plunging, people not going to work, people doing whatever, coping mechanism they would need to do to get through this. And I think it would be a rough patch. But it may be the only way forward. The Band-Aid needs to be ripped off eventually. Now, we can do it slowly, which I think is what's going on now. This steady drip, this slow disclosure. I don't know how deliberate that is. It seems so ham-fisted and haphazard. One person says one thing, one person says another, which could be part of the strategy, but it seems almost too haphazard to be deliberate. However, I do think that would be a good way to do it. And that, again, that may be what's going on. But slow or fast, that Band-Aid needs to come off. And I think that this Virginia video, if James Fox could get his hands on it and release it to the public, could accelerate that process a lot. And, it's even to this day, I have friends who, when I start talking about UFOs, just roll their eyes. And I say, hey guys, there's hearings on Capitol Hill about UFOs. There's a new report due any day on UFOs. And they just say, whatever. And I think that it's going to take a shakeup like the Virginia video to actually get their head out of the sand. But I do take Bob Bigelow's point, and I do worry about the destabilization that would cause. But what do you think? Do you think that this would be an event that would cause turmoil among the populace? Or do you think that they would take it in stride, especially after several years of this steady drip of disclosure? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Smash that subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. If you wanted to follow me on social media and interact with me, I would love to do that. That'd be so cool. And it'd be super helpful if you would share these videos when they drop. Until next time, Cosmic Road out.